In this video, I'm going to talk about a game that I absolutely adore, and that game is Star Smuggler. Now, Star Smuggler, believe it or not, is an open world, sandbox style, tabletop RPG that you can play solo that does not require some sort of Oracle or Mythic emulator or anything like that. This is a true sit-down, standalone game where no matter what you do within the game, there are rules to cover your actions. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how this all works together, what the story is within this, my experience with Star Smuggler, and then a little bit at the end to kind of wrap it all up. Now, like I said, Star Smuggler is an open world game that is a tabletop RPG. It's really a print and play board game, I think, if I were to classify it, but it plays like a tabletop RPG that does not require a GM, so you can play it solo, nor does it require some sort of Oracle or other interpreting mechanism. All the rules exist within the game based on how you choose to play the character. So what do you actually do in Star Smuggler? Well, you take the place of the character Duke Springer, who is the character in the game, and Duke Springer gets a set of core attributes and a ship. Now the ship's the most important part of the game because that's how you actually explore the universe within this game. But along with the ship comes a whole lot of debt. And that is I would say the base mechanism of the game that pushes the game forward is your character is in debt, and the entirety of the game is based on your character doing odd jobs, flying here or there, trying to get some sort of equity or value out of the places you're visiting to try and not only repair your ship, maybe buy some things along the way, but also pay off your debt, stay out of jail, and eventually the main way that you would win the game is you would pay off your debt and then the game is over and you win the game, although there are other alternative ways to win the game there. Now the cool thing about this game is not new. This game actually came out back in 1982, so it's a very, very old game. However, to my knowledge, there's nothing quite like it out there at this time. There's not a game that plays like Star Smuggler, and I kind of think that's a shame. I think that a new take on a game like this would be very, very cool. Now, I wasn't around in 1982, and I am not big into the wargaming hobby. I do believe this game was modeled after a lot of war games from the era. So when I say there's not another game like it, well, there's probably other war games like it, but there's not quite another sci-fi game that I'm aware of that plays like a solo RPG that does not require a GM or an Oracle, because all of the rules are self-contained within the game. Now, before I forget, this game was designed by Dennis Suster and published by Dwarf Star Games, and maybe is owned by Heritage USA, or maybe Heritage USA is part of Dwarf Star Games. I don't know, but that's what it's listed on the website. And if you're at all interested in this game, it can be downloaded for free. I will link the website where you can get this game in the thing below, so you can check that out. Now, since this, I would consider this kind of a unique, innovative game when it comes to space exploration tabletop experience, and the way it's really put together, in my opinion, is ingenious. If you go to that website or you're looking to play, there's a lot of stuff to print out. You're going to be printing out tokens. You're going to be printing out these really cool, colorful, modular space map, I guess, tiles. And the reason I think that's cool is because you can play the game multiple times, and each time it's going to be different, because in game one, some space planets will be different or right next to others, and then in game two, it's going to change. So other planets will be closer or further away from others, and it's going to give you more of a unique play experience each time you go through it. But the main things that you are going to be using when you play this game are the rules booklet, which I have printed the cover off here, and the events booklet, which I have the cover of here. Now, the rules booklet really covers how to play the game. In it are a whole bunch of rules references which you'll need to reference throughout the game. The events booklet is what happens when you play the game. Oftentimes in the game, you'll make a decision for your character to do an action, you roll a dice, and then the game will tell you to reference this event. You'll go to the event and find out what happens, and that's the core gameplay mechanic, really. Is the core thing that drives the game is the debt, but the core mechanic is you making a choice for your character, usually rolling some dice, and then referencing the event the game rules tell you to. So getting into this game, it's a little daunting, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to hold up the rules again here. If you look at the bottom of the rules, it has references for all sorts of things, and it gives you the scope of the game, which I think is incredible. I'm not going to read them all, I'm just going to read some of them, but in this game, there are rules for characters, actions, maps, asteroids, random system designs in case you want to like build your own system. So it's got like world building in it. There's life support systems, different ships, planetary vehicles, weapons damage, and then it gets in some crazy stuff: wounds and encumbrance, record keeping, robots, hirelings, equipment, encounters, ships, papers, and ID. So yeah, like having government papers is an important part of this game. Base price multiplier tables as items become more or less expensive throughout the game. This game has so much packed into it. I think it's crazy. It's really cool. So I'm going to read just briefly the rules here to start the game, so you get a sense of kind of what it's like. And these are the rules. And then I'll read the beginning of the event, so you can kind of get a sense of how the game will feel when you play it. So these are the rules. In this game, you are Duke Springer, Star Smuggler, and Rogue about the galaxy. On your Antelope-class ship, you travel about the Pavonis sector in search of wealth and probably one step ahead of both your creditors and the police. In this game, you play alone against the game itself, trying to survive and become successful. The rules booklet is divided into sections, which are numbered as R000 numbers, while the event booklet has E00 numbers. The most important part of the rules booklet is the next paragraph. You can learn this game as you play. Simply start with the first event, reading E001, so that references the first event over here, and then read sections as necessary. It then gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different rules sections that it says may be convenient to read ahead. However, it says you can just start playing while you are learning while you play. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to event 001, which is titled The Adventure Begins. Due to bad luck and loan sharks, your financial situation is getting very desperate. Your small merchant starship never seems to have a full cargo hold, but operating costs are high. Your cash is almost gone and another payment is due to the sector financiers. Maybe, just maybe, you can make ends meet if you look for illegal goods and begin to take your chances. Consult the Rules Section 201B to determine your starting attributes. So that's like character creation is very quick. I think there's just 3 attributes. And your skills for your new career as Star Smuggler, and then continue reading. You have a sturdy and reliable Antelope-class starship built to Tech Level 1 standards. Yes, there are tech levels in this game. And outfitted with a Hopper-class ship's boat and starship guns, both also Tech 1. The starship has 6 hypercharges and the boat has 15 fuel units. In addition, a stasis unit is mounted on the pilot's compartment with 2 CU capacity to protect the occupants in case of disaster. You personally own a utility suit and a sidearm. Both are Tech Level 1. Your only money is in your pocket. You'll roll 1d6 times 100 plus 150 SC sex, I think is what it is, SCCS. And that's kind of like the currency there. Where was I? You have no crew or hirelings, no cargo, and no repair units. However, you do have proper papers and are not wanted in any system. This is the first day of the week, so you have 10 days until your starship payment is due. You are currently at the Sol planet in the Regari system of the Pavonis sector at the spaceport. This morning you decide to take up a life of smuggling. You check over your starship guns and your personal sidearm and prepare to find profit through any means. See Rules Section 203 for the activities available to you. And that's how you start the game. It gives you a sense of, oh, you're kind of in trouble here with debt. It gives you a lot of debt, and there's a rules section on debt there that you can read over if you want to learn more about it. It tells you what resources you have. You got a ship with a lot of space in it. You got some guns. You have the proper papers. You're not wanted. And then it sends you to rules section 203 where you can decide what to do. And that's where the game starts. You'll go to Rules Section 203, identify what you want your character to do. Maybe you want to explore the starport. Maybe you want to try and buy something. Maybe you just want to leave and go somewhere else. Maybe you want to try and find a job. Whatever it is, you figure out what the rules say in that Rules Section 203. It'll send you off to an event somewhere. And in that way, the game begins. Excuse me. Now, this game, like I said, is absolutely ingenious in my opinion. It's very, very unique when compared to the games that I've played in the past. Like I said, there's probably war games that follow a very similar system, but not being a war gamer myself, really, this has been a unique and innovative experience for me to play and read through this game. It's very, very cool. The other part that I love about this game, it's amazing, are the events. I'm going to read 2 different events to give you a good sense of what can happen in this game. So the first one I'm going to read is event 16. It's called Bootlegger. Each event has a little sidebar that tells you how long the event takes, because tracking time is very, very important in this game. You track down to the hour, which can get tedious, but like I said, it's important. So you meet a bootlegger who offers you an amount of Croxian brandy with no tax stamps at 85 S's for each one CU case. The unstamped brandy can be sold at any gambling area for base price, and then it gives you the reference for the rules for that, of 200 S's per case. You can obtain tax stamps for the brandy whenever you have the chance to obtain false papers, and for the same price a set of papers would cost. Properly stamped brandy can be sold in any city area for 500 per case, or palace area for 600 per case base price, and then that gives you the rules sections for that as well. So right here, it gives you a sense of what events can occur. Hey, you have an opportunity. A bootlegger has given you some unstamped brandy, and you have a few avenues of how you want to get rid of it. And so you can see how the game kind of branches these decisions out in front of you. Now, back at the beginning, I said that this is classified a little bit closer to a board game and not quite a tabletop RPG, because you can't literally do anything you want in this game, but it gives you so many choices that it's close. It's really, really close to that RPG feeling. So it really plays like a role-playing game, and it doesn't really play as much like a board game. I'm going to read one more event here down to 142. You'll have to wait for a moment while I find it. 142. All right, so this is another event that could occur, and again, the time that this event takes would be time varies. So this is Riot in the Streets. You find yourself in the midst of a street riot. There are too many people to fight. Instead, each hour, starting with this hour, make a cunning roll. If you succeed, you escape. If not, each person in your party and each robot and each vehicle takes 1 point of hit damage, and you roll again. So that's another good example of, okay, so now a bad thing has happened, an encounter, a challenging encounter, and it tells you how you can get out of the encounter and what happens if you are unable to get out of the encounter. And there are so many events in this booklet here. There are 431 events. So the scope of this game is absolutely mind-blowing, massive. And each of these events branch, like I said, one event will often send you off in 2 or 3 different directions depending on what choice you make. So the scope of this game is amazing. The events are amazing. The experience is amazing if you can pull it all together, because it's unique and innovative in how it is all set up. There are some problems with this game. All right. Some of the problems are also located in the events. Let me pull up a different event to kind of give you a sense of some of the less good events that can occur. 152, and I should maybe mention these are some spoilers here, but like I said, 451 events. If you're able to experience these events, that's great. This one might be a spoiler, so if you really want to get a pure playing experience, maybe skip this one. So this event is E152. It's Time Machine, and this one takes 1 hour. You are approached by an elderly gentleman who claims to have invented a time machine and needs a volunteer to test it. You may ignore him and end this encounter, or go with him to test it. All right, so if you go with him, it explains the machine, and then you roll 1d6. So there's a few options of what might occur off of this 1d6 roll. Note that it's literally just a 1d6 roll. There's no modifiers and nothing else but the roll. If it's a 1 to 2, the device fails, you emerge coughing and leave cursing to yourself. If it's a 3, 4, or 5, the device works but is out of control, and you are plunged hopelessly far into the past or future and unable to return, and eventually you die and you lose the game. If it's a 6, the time machine works and you can control it, but are able to jump forward and back at will, giving you the ability to amass limitless wealth and avoid any problems with the authorities, and you instantly win the game. Now, in my opinion, and there's a lot of events like this. There's some events that have you win the game, but there's more events that just have you die. And in my opinion, this is a pretty big. A lot of games at the time did this. A lot of games, especially in like an RPG style or a style like this, where you would get these random events, and then some events would just have you lose the game. And that's a part of the play experience, especially in this style or from the era. But in my opinion, it's just not great design. If you were having fun playing this game and you're like maybe paid off 30% of your debt, and you get to this event, half of the results are very unsatisfying. The result where you automatically lose is no fun. That doesn't have that's not enjoyable, especially because the game doesn't give you a ton of warning that this might end in imminent death. And then even the good result, the number 6 there, where if you win the game, is also unsatisfying because you don't want to win the game due to a random dice roll in an event. You want to win the game by playing the game. Maybe a better result, if it was a 6, is saying you get the time machine, but or whatever, you can take it or you get access to it, and you can undo a previous event. So maybe at some point in the future you get ambushed by pirates, and you can say, oh, I'm going to use my time machine, get out of jail free card, roll back the clock and go back to Saturday morning or whatever day it was, with the knowledge that this ambush is waiting here for me, so I'm going to go around it or something like that. That might be more fun. But as you can see here with some of these events, they're just really, some are brutal and some just end the game in a win or a loss randomly, and that's just not as fun. The other big problem, in my opinion, with this game is the rules referencing. And this is, eventually I did a few reviews on this, and I've talked about this before. And I gave this game a 4 out of 10, even though it's a 10 out of 10 in what I want it to be. But the rules references, in my opinion, really ruin the experience of the game. Now, if we go back to the events booklet here, I read this out loud to you to give you a sense of how the game is going to feel and what you'll be doing in the game. What I didn't read to you are all of the rules references it gives you in this opening paragraph. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's about 20 rules references in this game, or in the first paragraph of this game. The rules say, the very first part of the rule book says you can learn this game while playing, but in the very first section, first event of the game, it gives you 20 different rules references that you have to read it over. And that doesn't change. In a lot of these events, there are 5, 6, 7 rules references or other events that you might have to reference or more. And that is a hair pulling out style experience, and that is the biggest heartbreaker for me with this game. Is I just can't get over the fact that you have to constantly reference rules, and there's so many important rules that you have to constantly reference. I haven't seen really any player aids that are able to make a good impact and save enough time for this to be worth it to me. So I'm going to finish with my experience with this and my overall thoughts, because I have played this game a few times. Most of my games were pretty short, but very enjoyable. In the games that I've played, Duke Springer has had a lot of adventures. I had a very fun adventure in one of my games where I was able to get a religious zealot or cultist on my ship who had to sacrifice goats every day or something like that. And I was able to get them around the galaxy for quite a bit of money. I had a game where I was literally stranded on a planet, and there was one event on the planet that allowed me to make money, and I just had to spam that event over and over and over until I think there was one other way to get off the planet until I got lucky and found passage off the planet. And then another one of my games, this is what's really cool about the game, is there's rules about like life support systems and using your ship's boat or your escape pods and things like that. And so like there's events where your ship might start blowing up because a pirate's attacked it or something, and you have to get out, and you have to choose what's the best way to get out. And all of a sudden the rules support this system where you're floating in space and your ship's destroyed, and your closest planet is your best option at surviving and continuing the game. So my experience has been very, very fun with this. Again, I've only played it a few times because the rules referencing is crazy hard. In my opinion, if you want to play this game, and I suggest you at least check it out if this interests you, because it is a very cool play experience, try and set up a 4-hour, 5-hour window where you can just sit down and get the rules kind of put out so you understand where everything is, familiarize yourself with the rules before you play, and then give yourself a big chunk of time, like I said, 4 or 5 hours, so you can really dive in. Make sure you have the time to check the rules references, make sure you have the time to keep track of the passage of time within the game, because again, that's very important, and just enjoy yourself. I think the first few times I played it, I had like 1 to 2 hours in as far as the time window to play, and I was rushing it because there was so many rules to get through. So you're going to need a big time chunk here, and there's so much to explore in this game that it is, like I said, it's a crazy unique experience, and I hope that if you do try it out, you have a better experience than I do, because I couldn't quite get through the rules references and the amount of flipping through papers or PDFs that I had to in the game. So that's my coverage of Star Smuggler. Like I said, it's a game I am completely infatuated with. I absolutely love it. I swear every single year I take it out and I think to myself, hey, I should go ahead and play this again. But then I don't, just because of the references might take too long. Now I'm going to add one thing at the end here. It's something I'm very excited about. I am planning on announcing more information about a game I am making that I hope to be modeled after this style of game. So a sandbox style solo RPG that you can play without an oracle, that has these decision trees branching out similar to this game, but without the insane rules referencing. So I'm excited to announce that this fall. So if you're at all interested in space games that you can play print and play style, RPG style, keep an eye out, and I will certainly let you know when that gets closer to being released. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.